Hi guys, welcome back to Snackin' Sundays. It's Maria, and yes, I cut my hair. I fell into the cutting your own hair because it's quarantine. I know, I couldn't last, but you know, it's decently straight, so it's fine. It's good, it's great. So anyways, I hope you all are having a great week. I hope you all have learned a lot at school. I hope school's fun. I hope you're having fun with your families, lots of laughs, lots of joy. Lots of eating good food, because food is great. So let's get into this gospel. So the gospel this week is a parable, and a parable is a story that Jesus told with like this underlying message of a lesson that Jesus wanted us to learn. So Jesus is telling a parable to these people that he's talking to. And the parable is about sheep and shepherd, and Jesus being a shepherd, and the sheep knowing the shepherd's voice and all this stuff. And okay, first off, I was like, when I first read this, I was like, why the heck are there so many times that Jesus is talking about sheep and him being a shepherd? I was like, why does humanity have to be a sheep? Why can't we be like something else that's cool, like a tiger or a lion or something? Well, I guess Jesus is a lion, but anyways, I was like, why is it always the sheep and shepherd analogy? Like, I don't know what this is. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, back then, a bunch of people, like most people lived on a bunch of land, and they had animals and sheep. They had sheep, and so this like reality of shepherd and sheep was very normal to them, and a lot of them were shepherds themselves, or their dad or their brother or their husband were shepherds. Like, it was a very common thing. So Jesus was using something that was very common to them as a way to teach them. It was like if Jesus was alive now and he was like using, I don't know, like TikTok or something to teach us about stuff. I don't know how he would use TikTok to teach us about stuff, but you know, Jesus is Jesus and he's a great teacher, so he could do it somehow. But it would be like Jesus using TikTok to teach us something, because that's just something that we're used to nowadays. It's something that everybody knows about. So Jesus is using something, which is the shepherd and sheep analogy, something that they're used to teach them. Makes it kind of more of a reality, something easier to understand. And there's a few lines in this gospel that I want to talk about. So it says, he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. So there's like two things that I want to say about this. First off, it says that Jesus is calling us by name. Now, this is pretty familiar. We've heard this line of Jesus calls us by name a couple of times in the Old Testament. We've heard it in Isaiah. We've heard it in 1 Kings. We've heard it in 2 Chronicles. People writing these stories thousands and thousands of years ago. Not stories. People writing these things that have happened and prophecies thousands and thousands of years ago. And Jesus is saying it in the New Testament. It's like a fulfillment of scriptures of Jesus is calling us by name. Isaiah wrote that. Jesus is calling us by name. Jesus says that. And Jesus is telling us, like, himself. He's telling us himself. Holy smokes, words. He's telling us that he is close to us. Like, he's not just far off in heaven, you know, partying it up with Mary and the saints. I mean, he is, but you know, he's also like with us, and he's also super close to us and calling us by our own name and leading us and wanting us to follow him. So that's the first part. Jesus is calling us by name. The second part is that the sheep, which are us, we were made for Christ. We were made to follow Christ and to listen to his voice. And this is what we are called to. Like, we are called to do all that stuff, and sheep listen to the shepherd's voice. They know the shepherd's voice. They don't listen to the other people's voices. Like, the sheep know their shepherd's voice, and that's the same with us. Like, we were created from Christ, from God's voice, and we were made for Christ, and we were made to follow him. And just like the sheep know the shepherd's voice. And yeah. Like, one challenge that I have for us this week is to really listen to Christ's voice, to really get to know the voice of God, and to listen to it and to follow what he teaches. Maybe read some parts of the Bible, maybe read like a few chapters of Isaiah, or read a couple chapters of the Gospel of Mark, or read about the saints and see how God has been speaking to them in their own lives. Like really get to know, what is God teaching us? What is God telling us? How can I follow God? How can I get to know his voice better? This is something that I can do. I mean, I say this every time, but I can really get to know how to listen to Christ better. Yeah, so this is what I got from the gospel. Again, we're thinking of you guys. We miss you guys like crazy. We miss seeing you and having fun with you and running around with you guys. But know that we're praying for you. We're thinking about you a bunch. But yeah, next up, I'm going to talk to Daniel. We're going to talk about our snacks, and then we're going to get into a little bit more of the gospel.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Maria. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Life is chill, COVID at home, living.
Yeah. Nice. So let's see the snack that you have.
Yes, I have my favorite snack of all time, which is tortilla chips. And I'm not going to eat any because you'll probably hear the crunching. It'll be really gross.
Okay.
But I have them with me, and I'll eat them after.
Nice. Okay, my snack is chocolate peanut butter pie Oreos.
Those look
I'm
amazing.
not going to eat the whole thing, but...
Dang. I want them.
Yeah. Okay, let's get right into the questions. So, highs and lows of the week.
Yes. I'll start with my high, actually, because I'm pretty excited about my high. Yesterday, I went hiking with one of my best friends who is home from seminary. He's been in seminary all year, so I've only got to see him a little bit. He's home. We went for a hike. So it was super nice, like being out in nature, getting out of my house. So
yeah.
That was my high, definitely. And then my low, I think, like being at home is starting to get like really old. Like it's not just old, like it's not like, oh yeah, I'm done. It's like, I'm actually like done with being at home. So that's just been like, I think getting challenging this week, and like recognizing like there are things and like, my personal life and like my work life, like goals that I had laid out, that it's like, this is just not going to happen because all the time. So that's been a little challenging, but like, we're like growing through it. So
that's really good. Really good.
Totally.
So let's get right into the questions. So in the gospel this week, it was talking about Jesus kind of being like a shepherd and listening, like the sheep, which is us, listening to his voice. So do you have like any ways of like how Jesus speaks to you? And if he is, like, what is he speaking to you right now?
That's a really good question. I think, the way Jesus like speaks to me has kind of like changed in seasons of my life. Like lately, he's been speaking a lot through like people in my life and through like scripture. So that's really good. So actually, like the big thing, Jesus is speaking to me. There's this awesome kind of prayer. Actually, so I did the video on Friday. So if anyone watched it, I talked about there. It's called like the pirate prayer, which I think is the dumbest name of all time, and I hate it because it's so cheesy. But it's like the pirate prayer. So there's like 4 steps. Like you acknowledge like how you're feeling. So it's like very how you're feeling, and then relate. You tell Jesus how you're feeling, what's going on, and then receive. And then respond. So it's like A-R-R-R. Anyways, so I was like doing that on Thursday night, and I was in prayer, and I just like, I was kind of telling Jesus about like my low for the week. I was like, God, this sucks. I'm kind of frustrated and like whatever. Anyways, and then like in the receive bit, like you're meant to just like sit, and just like listen. And I just received like, prompting from the Lord to like go to this like chapter of the Bible, and he was just really speaking to me in that chapter, Philippians chapter 2, which talks about like how Jesus humbled himself and like became man and like didn't hold equality with God as something. He grasped that and like he died for us. And it was just like Jesus just like reminding me that like suffering is like okay, and he was willing to suffer for me, so like I can suffer in this time and like offer that back to him, and he's going to bring good out of it. So that's kind of what he's been telling me. So it's like it's challenging. Like he's been speaking like hard words, but it's good. It's good.
That's really good. And I think it's awesome how just the Lord speaks to us in such different ways, of how he can literally speak to us and like, the big booming voice or whatever, but also like he uses what he made to speak to us. And I think
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful. And
Totally.
that's super
He
awesome.
is the best.
He is the best. Well, I want to thank you for being on the Snackin' Sundays
Woo.
bit.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I hope you have a great week. And I hope the Lord continues to speak to you and speak to all of us.
Amen.
And yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Maria. You
Yeah.
were the bomb.
Great.
Nice.
Thanks, Daniel.